What's going on, 49er faithful, 49er fam, 49er gang? This is your boy, Niner Gang Podcast, back in the building. So definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on the post notifications so I can keep you up to date on any and everything San Francisco 49ers. That being said, let's get right on into it, man. So it's the off season. Yesterday, the Los Angeles Rams. What's going on, Roy Boy? What's up, 49er Chanel? The Los Angeles Rams won the Super Bowl. None of us were happy about that in Niner land because we don't want the Rams to win anything. Direct division, division rival. What would be the point of that? So, yes, Roy Boy, my sentiments exactly. But at the end of the day, the offseason is finally here. It is upon us. New league year starts March 15th. So we've got just about a month and a day away to be able to go ahead and get things rolling. Now, in the offseason, since we've been here, we do have to go ahead and address a couple of things, and we've got to go ahead and make sure we get a few players, and sometimes we have to let go of guys. But with us, we're going to need some additions because we've got a couple of spots on the squad that do need to be taken care of. Now, first thing that I will say is going to go over a couple of notes here. Offseason is here. Unfortunately, we aren't in the playoffs anymore. Lost the NFC Championship game, but made it further than anticipated from our 3-5 record. We got a few things to tend to. Some people that are going to go, some people that will keep. Looking at our list of free agents, I'm only looking to keep 7 players. Those players are as follows: DJ Jones, Laken Tomlinson, Arden Key, Jordan Willis, Juwan Jennings, Azeez Al-Shaair, and Kevin Gibbons. A few rotational pieces on the D-line, a constant on the O-line in Tomlinson, and a blossoming receiver in Juwan Jennings, and a great linebacker in Al-Shaair. The salary cap is expected to be about $208 million this year. Along with some cuts or trades, we can open current cap space up from $5.1 million to a little bit more than that. So if we cut or trade Jimmy G, preferably trade to get some draft capital for him. If, however, we cut him, it'll only be a $1.4 million hit in dead cap money and a savings of $25.55 million. Next guy is D Ford. Cutting him, say, $7 million, dead cap of $4.9 million. Cutting Tarvarius Moore would save $965,000 with no dead cap. If we cut Samson Ebukam, we could save $6.5 million and only have about $1.75 million in dead cap money. They also, this was from an article, and they also wanted to cut Greenlaw, but I'm going to leave that alone because I actually like him. I want him in the building. So with those four combined in Jimmy, Samson, Tarvarius, and Ford, we could open up about roughly $40 million in cap space. This definitely will help with either the free agent market and or in re-signing some of our own players like Deebo Samuel or Nick Bosa. One of our number one needs will be DB. The main reason is currently we only have 3 under contract: Mosley, Lenore, and Thomas. So technically we have our starters left, right, and nickel, but we will need reinforcements, which we can find in free agency this year, as this year offers a variety of options. So let's take a journey through these options and find some guys that can help us out. I'm not going through too many numbers because I don't know all of that, but a few vets to help us out should work. So we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at some things and see what we got as far as, what we can do with what money we have. So if we open up that $40 million in cap space, get Jimmy off the books, get D off the books, Samson Ebukam was good, but he wasn't great, so we really don't need him here. We can probably draft a linebacker to replace him and play in his spot that will be able to go ahead and do what he does. And most likely they're probably going to try to draft another edge rusher to be able to help Nick Bosa out because currently right now in the middle, you have they're banking on Javon Kinlaw coming back, and they'll probably keep Eric Armstead in the middle just strictly due to what he did this year and how effective he was in that spot. So when it comes down to it, one of the biggest needs that we have is cornerback. We've all been saying that as 49er fans. We all talk about it. We all see it as a dire need. And we would love to go ahead and have that happen. But we don't really know if it is. So here's the hard part. The 49ers don't play around in free agency too much in this regime, i.e. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. They just do not. I don't know why. I don't know what their problem is. I don't know what the issue is. But they just don't like free agency too often. And they don't dig around in there as far as spending top dollar. They'll go out and get a couple of people, but they're going to find guys on super cheap deals. 9 times out of 10, it's like a 1-year prove-it deal. So we've got a couple of free agents on the market as far as DB goes, and we can take a look at them and see what we can do. Number one DB on the list, obviously, is Stephon Gilmore. Everybody knows who Stephon Gilmore is and what he does. The issue with Stephon Gilmore is the money. He's going to cost you a lot, so you're either signing him to a 1 or a 2 year deal if you don't see him being a person that's going to stay in your franchise for years. We give him a little 1 or 2 year deal, give him probably anywhere from like 10 to 12 million. That might work out well for us, but this just doesn't seem like something that John and Kyle will do. They don't really pull the trigger on guys like that. So then you have a couple other guys like Kyle Fuller. You've got Chris Harris. Jason Verrett, even though he's coming off an injury, he's still there. I don't want Jason Verrett back only because he is injury prone, and it does kind of suck. But, you know, the guy, when he's on the field, he's great. When he's not on the field, you know, it sucks, but he's off the field more than he's on it. So with that being said, we'll have to make sure that we, take a look at our viable options. But I would think, with just those two dudes right there, if we could get Kyle Fuller and Chris Harris, that would be fantastic. I would love for at least us to bring in those two defensive backs. You bring them in on 1 or 2 year deals. You give them a good chunk of money to be able to come and play and do some things for us. And plus, that's good mentorship for Ambry Thomas, Diamador Lenore. You got some good vets in the room, and you got some guys you can count on. Those are my two guys that I would love to see come into the fold for the 49ers is Chris Harris and Kyle Fuller. I know they're going to cost us a lot of money, but at the end of the day, I would rather take a flyer on those two dudes than to draft some guys and develop. The reason being is because one of the things that Kyle likes is a finished product. He just likes to fine-tune everything. So, all right, Roy boy, peace, man. Go out there and grind. Get your money. Do what you got to do. Have a blessed day. He likes a finished product. He just likes to fine-tune things. So I kind of understand it to an extent. But with that being said, if you got these two dudes who are already vets in the league, you don't have to do a lot. You can teach them the scheme, make sure they work well within it, and it's easier. You give them a couple of bucks, let them do their thing, and keep on pushing. Now, the other spot that I was looking at as far as this stuff is concerned, because we have a couple of needs on our offensive line, and that is we're going to go ahead and go to guard and check out a few guards out there and see who's there to be able to help us out. Because if they don't re-sign Laken Tomlinson, we need a left guard. If they don't re-sign Daniel Brunskill, we need a right guard. So we got 2 big gaps and 2 big holes on our offensive line that we definitely cannot live without, okay? Not with the system that Kyle Shanahan runs, all of the pulling, all of the moving, all of the athleticism he requires out of his offensive linemen, let alone his guards. You've got to have these guys there to be able to make sure that offense is executed to perfection. So when you look at the list here, we've got Brandon Scherff. Wiley Vett is about 30 years old. Of course, you got Laken. I really think they're going to re-sign him. They'll find a way to at least get him on a bare minimum, at least a 1 year deal. But I really, truly believe they bring Laken Tomlinson back. Now, when you start getting down here, man, you start looking at some of these guys, you just start losing the names, and these people don't even start to look good anymore. Right up at the top of the list, of course, was Brandon Scherff. You got Andrew Norwell. He used to be with Jacksonville, but I don't want anyone from Jacksonville's offensive line because they were trash. We got Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. He was with the Jets. They were trash too. Alex Lewis. The Jets didn't have a good offensive line. So when you start to look at these guys and you look at the lines that they played for, it does not help you too much. So Brandon Scherff is definitely a person you can look into because he's been a veteran. He did play with Washington, but at the end of the day, they did do a couple of things that were pretty good, and it wasn't too bad. But that's probably the only guy. Other than that, you start digging into the draft, start taking a look at those guys and see what they can do. Let's jump over to edge because at the end of the day, I love Nick Bosa, but he does need help. Samson Ebukam was not the answer, and he more so kind of backed up Nick Bosa. So that's part of it. So when you're looking at edge guys, we're going to try to stick to defensive end, and I'm going to look for guys that are going to be, nasty off that edge. To be honest with you, you do have Chandler Jones. Now, Chandler Jones is technically classified as an outside linebacker, but he can be a great edge presence in general, and he is a monster. Coming off that edge, and if he's in the right system, he can ball. He only had a few sacks this year, and he got all of those like in the first game, and then he just almost all but disappeared the rest of the season. But still, the pressure that he creates helps the rest of the line to be able to do their job properly, and you can go ahead and sack that quarterback real easily and real quickly if you got enough pressure coming from the outside, and we funnel them inside to those big guys in the middle, depending on who it is. So you've got Jason Pierre-Paul, you've got Akeem Hicks, Clowney's still on the market. So when you look up at the top of the list, the first guys are Von Miller, Chandler Jones, Dante Fowler Jr., Calais Campbell, Jason Pierre-Paul, Akeem Hicks. You got Jerry Hughes, Mario Addison, Anthony Barr is there. He's more of an outside linebacker, though. So you've got some options. You just have to figure out the money. Emmanuel Ogbah is there. So there are people there. Me personally, I'd like to take a flyer on probably a Jason Pierre-Paul or maybe even a Calais Campbell. The one thing about those dudes is they're vets. They know what they're doing. You just got to plug them into the system, make sure that they learn and understand it. And Chris Kaczmarek seems to be the most amazing defensive line coach I've ever seen in my life. He finds a way to get the most out of the guys that he has on the squad. And it doesn't matter who it is that comes in, he just figures it out. Like there's something about his style of coaching that makes these guys go insane. And you get more than you can think of when it comes to these defensive linemen, especially with him coaching them. I don't know if it's the way that he yells or what he tells them or how he helps them study, whatever the case may be. It worked out well that, he was definitely our defensive line coach, and he was able to help us out. I love that, and I appreciate him for it. We did have a quick word on Vic Fangio. He did state that he's going to pretty much take this year off and come back next year and do things as far as that stuff goes. So we won't have Fangio on the staff. It was rumored that he was going to be like a possible advisor for us when it came to the NFL and things of that nature. So maybe next year we'll have him sit there. But when you look at the approach from the defensive line as far as the sacks, Eric Armstead had 6. DJ Jones had 2.5. Nick Bosa with 15.5. Then you start to look at the other guys. Samson Ebukam, maybe he had 4.5. Arden Key had 6.5, his best year in the league by far. Contavious Street had 3. Jordan Willis had 3. So, even D Ford, even though he played a limited amount of time, he still had 3 sacks. So it gives you, he only played 6 games and he had 3 sacks, so that he gives you everything. So we had 48 sacks in total as a team. So that tells you that Chris Kaczmarek just figures it out. He knows what to do with defensive linemen. So I say if we could get ourselves like a JPP or a Calais Campbell here on a quick 1-year deal, and make sure that we take care of those guys properly within that deal, maybe give them some nice little incentives for sack numbers and production and stuff. We probably could work that out. I think that'll be a fantastic thing. But outside of that, we can take a look at these wide receivers because some people are saying that we need a more dynamic third receiver and that we need some people, we need another guy in there as far as someone who will help us to take our team to the next level because our starters are obviously Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. Right now, currently, the third receiver was Juwan Jennings. When you look at the free agent market for receivers, there's a couple names that stick out. Obviously, the number one name in the league is Devontae Adams. However, I don't believe he hits the free agent market. I believe that Green Bay tags him really, really quick and really, really fast because they don't want him to go anywhere. I believe they use Davante Adams as a bargaining chip for Aaron Rodgers to stay outside of him wanting to leave. I don't think that's going to work. And, I think Davante is going to be very disgruntled if you do so. The other guy that could be on the market is Michael Thomas as well. Michael Thomas has not been existent for several years because he's been upset with the Saints. We all know about him getting in fist fights with other players. But he got paid, and he just hasn't been the same guy, and he's been causing a ruckus, and he just doesn't get on the field. So you would love to see that. Even with all this off-the-field shenanigans, Antonio Brown is on the free agent market this year. Why? Because the Bucs have cut him after all of the things that happened with him. So Michael Thomas and Antonio Brown are guys you have to approach with super caution, because those guys are headaches. And the only reason that I say that they're headaches is because one doesn't want to play, and the other wants to play, but play on his own terms. And then he wants to just, basically strip down to just his playing pants and then run off the field and clap in the middle of a game. Like, I'm sorry. Antonio Brown needs a real friend that's going to tell him, no, don't do that. Someone that puts him in place and keeps him in line, because he continues to make it seem like he's the victim on a continual basis. And no one ever tells him, like, bro, you did this. Like, this is your problem. I get it. A lot of people love him. A lot of people in the NFL, outside the NFL, love him. Me personally, I think he's got to get it together. And, okay, you came out and said you don't have any mental issues. Well, you just make dumb decisions then, because that don't make no sense how you go out here and do half the stuff that you do and no one tells you this is wrong. There's nobody there to guide you as a grown man and say, hey, don't do that. You get your feet burned, you're running out in the backyard when the Raiders cut you, and all you had to do was hold on. You get your money. There's too many different situations for him when he winds up looking ridiculous and looking outrageous, and then he comes in and plays victim. Oh, it wasn't me. I didn't do anything. They just don't like me. Bro, when you are on the field, you are a spectacular receiver. But off the field, I don't know what goes through your mind. You got to get that checked. At the end of the day, you can say you don't have no problems, but it is what it is. So a couple other guys, you got A.J. Green, who's a free agent, Emmanuel Sanders, Juju Smith-Schuster, T.Y. Hilton. If you want a burner on the field, you got Will Fuller. He's only 27. The issue with Will Fuller is his health. He's never healthy enough for a full season. So there are a couple of guys out there. Couple of guys. Out of all those dudes I named, the only person I'd want to take a flyer on, honestly, would be Davante Adams. And if we cleared up that cap space, as I had previously said before, what you do is you throw that money at Davante. You can go ahead and pay Debo next year. You still have Bosa. You still have a fifth-year option that you can go ahead and do. And even after the fifth-year option, you still have a franchise tag. Now, I'm not saying that's good for business, because players want to be appreciated. They want to see that you value them, and the way you show them you value them partially is by giving them a contract extension and giving them their money, giving them their guaranteed money, making sure the contract extension fits whatever it is that they've been putting on the field as far as production goes. Whatever numbers is sacks, tackles for a loss, passing defense, whatever it is, and then on top of that, it provides them security for their own family, because this is their job. So it makes sense, but you have options with Bosa, so you don't have to sign him right away. And then with Debo, you go ahead and pay that man. He's out there. He's been balling. He's done what he needed to do. You can't, tell him that he doesn't deserve his money. If you're going to throw a lot of money at someone, that's why I said you throw at Davante Adams, but him hitting the free agent market is just completely, out of the realm of possibility. He is 29, so you could even give conceivably Davante a 3 to 4 year deal, break him off something real proper, and call it a day. That would definitely be it. If you're going to go for a burner like Will Fuller, probably give him like a 1 year deal, maybe a 2 year deal at best. Give him a small amount of incentives and let him do his thing, as far as burning the field up, but actually use him as such, because we had Travis Benjamin and he didn't do nothing for us this year. He was worthless. So the other guys on the list, Allen Robinson is a good possession receiver. Chris Godwin's good too. But, I don't see any names on here that are going to make me jump off my seat outside of Davante Adams. You got Mike Williams from the Chargers. He's a damn good receiver. You take a flyer on him if the Chargers don't re-sign him. So I think those are some of the guys. I would say probably Mike Williams. You can even look into bringing Emmanuel Sanders back if you choose. Will Fuller for just for his top end speed. Chris Godwin and Devontae Adams, but number one guy on my list as far as receivers will go, I would say Devontae Adams. That would definitely be my pick. The other thing we have to look at too as well is center. And the reason being is because we don't know how long Alex Mack is there. We did give him a 3-year deal, but he could decide that he is, done. He wants to retire at any moment. We don't know that. So we've got a couple of centers here, and we have to look at them and see what we got. We got Ryan Jensen, Matt Paredes, Jason Kelsey, Ben Jones, our free agent center that we have that's the backup. He's there. We're not sure if he's going to be ready. He would be a good addition to the offensive line if he was there, strictly based on the fact that he has been snapping. Jake Brendel, that's his name. He's been snapping the ball to Trey Lance on the practice squad and running scout team and everything like that. So they have a bit of a rapport built, and one of those things that you got to have in the center is a rapport built with the quarterback, so they kind of know how to snap to him, know when to hold the ball, where to place their hands, all of that stuff. It all comes into play because if that stuff doesn't gel properly, you're going to get a lot of fumbles, you're going to get a lot of early snaps or late snaps, or definitely things that are different. So it all works out in the end. But some of these pieces are things that we need to look at in the draft. So we probably want to draft ourselves a center, possibly a guard. We definitely want to make sure that we get a DB, maybe an edge rusher. Those are some of the things that I'm looking into as far as our squad, as far as any possible weaknesses we may have. I don't think we have too many, but those are the things that we have to work out. We got to make sure that we fill these spots, fill these holes that exist to continue to be a great team. We've got a good core, but we're going to need a couple of guys to be some backups and do some things. The other thing is we've got to take time to partially check out the right tackle position because Mike McGlinchey tore his hamstring. Don't know how long that's going to take for him to heal, and we don't know if he's going to be ready for next season. And there are not very many right tackles in the league right now. We've got Trenton Brown, who plays for New England. He's about 28. We got Jermaine Ifedi. He was with the Bears. I don't want anything off the Bears offensive line. So it's slim pickings for the right tackle spot. So what that's telling me is we've got a variety of different people that are out there that we need for our situation. And it's going to be really, really tough for us to be able to fill these spots. But I do believe that we can do it. I do believe that we have the talent already set on the roster for a good base. We just need a couple of plug-and-play type guys to get us over the hump. The other thing that I will say is it's kind of weird, and this is just me throwing out a little bit of conspiracy theory. I mean, think about it. Tampa Bay played at home, hosted the Super Bowl, they won. The Rams played at home, hosted the Super Bowl, they won. Starting to look bad on the NFL about it being possibly rigged because that doesn't make sense. And mind you, the halftime show for me was the greatest halftime show I've ever seen, period. Like that was the best halftime show. And you have to keep putting hip hop on your halftime show because number one, it's going to spike your ratings. Number two, that's what these players listen to. You don't have players that are getting ready for a game going to listen to Rihanna and Taylor Swift and Jennifer Lopez and all these other pop acts that you put up there. No one is listening to that before they go to play a game. And even when they're coming out of the tunnel, you don't hear that music. Kodak Black literally rooted for us strictly based on the fact that, Deebo Samuel was the one listening to the song. They had that big boombox. These are things that continually go. Sup, my guy, what's happening with you, man? Appreciate that. So these are guys that you definitely listen to on a regular basis. It's all around the league. That's what you hear. And if anything, you hear, when you're going out to play a gladiator sport, you want aggression. You want to have that extra oomph when you go out there. Like me, I'd throw me a little DMX in there. I'm gonna throw some Tupac, a little Snoop Dogg. I'm gonna have some type of aggressive music that gets me ready to go out there and take somebody's head off, because that's what I'm gonna have to do, whether I'm on offense or defense. If I'm on offense and I'm a running back, I got to give you the stiff arm from hell. And if I'm on defense, I got to be able to avoid that stiff arm, and I want to rock your body. I want to hit you so hard that the wind gets knocked out of you. Like these are things that you got to look at. But halftime show was amazing. Best halftime show by far. It wasn't anything better. That whole setup from the open to the finish of the game. Corey Davis, what's going on? J.R. Meadows, what's happening to you? That whole setup from the beginning to the end of the game was flat out amazing. Like, you had The Rock out there introducing the teams. Like, that's insane. You know what I mean? So, like, it's LA, it's La La Land, it's Hollywood, it's Inglewood. You had to go out there and do it big. And the beauty of it was, shout out to Jay-Z, man. You know what I'm saying? Hats off to the brother for going out there and making sure that we were represented properly. And he did everything that he had to do. 50 was a last-minute addition that nobody anticipated. So that's fine. You get 50 out there and let him do his thing. But it's just a great deal for us when we can get out there, be represented, do the things the way we need to do. And we need to keep ourselves out there, man. When you have another Super Bowl in the Bay Area, why is E40 not there? Why is Too Short not there? You know what I'm saying? Like, the Bay Area has a super, super crazy music scene. So put those dudes out there. It draws in money. You draw in ratings. Like, it's all about bread. You know what I'm saying? Whether the money come in green or it come in plastic. It doesn't matter. So, Super Bowl next year, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's in Arizona. I'm doing well, Corey. I'm just taking a break. I'm on lunch right now from work, man. So I had to slide in here and do this little quick one for free agency, man. But you got to make sure that you tap into the local natives and make sure that you provide, the city something that they can really rock out and vibe to. All those songs that were performed, there wasn't a soul in the crowd that didn't know that music. You knew Mary J. Blige. You know her story. You know how she moved. You knew Eminem was there. Shout out to Eminem. He took that knee. The NFL said they knew about it. They weren't going to stop him. And I could appreciate that. But at the end of the day, coming back to the premise of the video, those are the things that I think we need. We need an edge rusher. We're going to need a DB. We're going to need, some help on that offensive line, possibly guard and center. And we probably may need to get another receiver to be able to help us out. But other than that, I don't think we're suffering too much. We have a really good core, and we just have to make sure that things continue to go well. If we make the moves that we make to be able to open up the salary cap space, we should be fine. I was saying earlier, Corey, that I would like to see them probably at least go after Stephon Gilmore to be able to give us a viable defensive threat. I know he's a little bit older, but if you give him like a 1 or 2 year deal, you can still get some good years out of him. He's only 31, so he's in his early 30s. And then the other guys, if he hits the free agent market, which is highly unlikely, I would love to have Devontae Adams on our squad. That would just be flat out fantastic because it's a dynamic number one receiver. You slide Debo into the slot. Jennings is still there. If you bring back Jennings, who's an exclusive rights free agent, so he can't go anywhere until we go ahead and basically either give him the okay or we sign him. And you basically can put those dudes on the field, man. You throw Debo in the slot, that is flat out disgusting. You know what I'm saying? So there's ways that we could work things. So, and then we got to look into the draft, like I said, for the guards and for the centers. We don't need another running back. There are certain spots that are solidified. We just have to make sure that these things get taken care of. Got to keep a real close eye on Mike McGlinchey and his recovery as it pertains to, tearing that hamstring. That's going to be a lot, and especially what we need him to do in this system. He's got to still be super athletic. So hopefully his rehab is going well and everything works out. But I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go chill for a minute and watch me a little TV and kick back. But thank y'all so much for tuning in. I appreciate everyone who stops in to view. Anybody else that, sees me here, y'all know I'm here, at least, 1 to 3 times a week. try to continually give y'all content. I'll be on tomorrow with my guys from the Forever Faithful podcast. No, we should not resign Raheem. We're going to let Raheem walk and let him go wherever he wants to go. I appreciate Raheem for everything he's done. The issue is he can't stay healthy. I am a guy who's a big proponent of guys who, if you cannot stay healthy, you got to go. Because basically the NFL is a what have you done for me lately league. And if you are not doing anything for me lately, you can go. Don't need to waste money in a roster spot on a guy who's not going to be on the field actually producing and earning that paycheck. That's just my thought process. I know I sound like a heavy businessman, but at the end of the day, that's what this is. The league is a business. You know what I'm saying? This is a job, this ain't an adventure. So you got to be smart about that. But I will definitely be on with my guys for the Forever Faithful podcast tomorrow. We're going to do that probably around like 6:30 Pacific Standard Time. And then on Wednesday, I'll be hanging out with my dudes from Real Talk Niner Talk. We will be speaking on the league, and we're going to talk about a real hard subject, which is racism in the NFL. It's definitely a topic that people don't like to talk about and they don't like to confront because it's uncomfortable. But here's the thing. We have to open that door to the uncomfortable zone. Walk right into it and make sure that we do everything possible to address these things. And at the end of the day, there's no more talking that needs to be done from the NFL. There has to be action. That action has to be swift and it has to be strong. We would love to be able to have more African-American coaches in the league. We would love to have more, minority ownership in the league. These teams don't have to sell, these owners don't have to sell their teams. And we understand that. But there are some egregious things that have happened over the years. You could force them out. Look what happened to Donald Sterling. He ran his mouth. He got kicked out. So there's certain things that you can do to be able to make sure that these guys are not able to own teams, especially when they're saying negative and nasty things and they're being rude to basically 70% of the league. Because 70% of the league is black. So you mean to tell me you can't even allow us a seat at the table and there's 70% of us out here doing this? I'll maintain this and I'll keep saying this and I'm not going to come off of it. If you took black people out of football and basketball, those sports would suffer tremendously. If we did not play, those sports would be boring as shit. And there's nothing against any other race. But we just do things that other people can't. And I ain't trying to be rude and negative towards no one else, but I just keep it a buck. There's things that we do you will never see anyone else do. Those dunks, those shots, the Steph Currys, the Klay Thompsons, the DeMar DeRozans, the Devontae Adams, the Antonio Browns outside of all the outside antics and whatnot, your Trey Lances, your Russell Wilsons, your Lamar Jacksons, the list goes on and on. We make up a very, very large chunk of that league. And we deserve to be treated fairly, and we deserve to be considered for these jobs and actually get them, rather than someone just doing what they can because it's a preconceived notion that they went ahead and appeased people by doing it. So it's like, hey, all you're doing is just saying, hey, man, here you go. I shut you up. You got the interview. Get out of my face. Knowing you'll never get the job. What's the significance of going to the interview then? So I'm going to keep going in here, putting on this suit, coming in here, talking to you, telling you the same thing, running the same bit to all of these people. And you basically are telling me I'm just here as a formality? That's bullshit. That's complete and utter bullshit. I wouldn't want to do it. If I go into an interview and I already know that I'm not going to get that job, I don't want to do the interview because I don't want to waste my time. Do you want to be seen? Do you want to be heard? At the end of the day, what we want is action. That's it. Period. Why did the Bengals get a penalty for celebrating and the Rams coach didn't week 18? Because they was in their own house. That's why. I personally think that he should have been flagged 15 yards because that's definitely an excessive celebration when your coach is in the end zone celebrating with you. But it is what it is, man. You know how it is. That was in L.A. I almost feel like that game was purposely done. But, hey, man, one thing I'll tell you, the Simpsons do not lie. They ain't been wrong since, and they ain't going to be wrong now. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Have a blessed day. Stay faithful. And I'm out this joint. Peace.